I'm a one-on-one person. I got really close with key people, just met with them constantly and just really tried to get close to them because from the get-go, I believed in Jeff and Tony's vision for this company.
Welcome back to the Sterling Family Law Show. I am one of your co-hosts, Tyler Dolph. I'm also the CEO of our hyper-focused, family-only law firm marketing agency called Rocket Clicks that was born out of our own law firm, Sterling Lawyers, that has grown to over 27 attorneys. Today, we have a very special episode, and we have Jeff Hughes, who's our other co-host, as well as Jeff Kerlin, who runs our law firm day-to-day, Sterling Lawyers. And today we're going to talk about the transformation that Jeff Kerlin has done to the law firm, focusing on culture and one-on-one relationships to really help us thrive in this wonderful environment that we are in. Jeff Kerlin, it's amazing to have you here. For our listeners, we have two Jeffs on the podcast today. We have our co-host, Jeff Hughes, as well as the president of Sterling Law, Jeff Kerlin. So you may hear us reference some last names as we're calling on people, but we want to talk through Jeff Kerlin's story here today. And Jeff Kerlin has been a guest on Jeff Hughes's former podcast, the J. Sterling Hughes Show. But now that we've migrated to the Sterling Family Law Show, we wanted to have Jeff Kerlin back on because he's done such an incredible job implementing best practices and helping Sterling Law really grow into the firm that we all know and love today. So, Kerlin, I was hoping we could start with just a little backstory for maybe the listeners that haven't heard the previous episodes. Give us a little history lesson on you and how you came into Sterling Law.
Yeah, happy to. Well, like most people, I spent 33 years in manufacturing to prepare for running a law firm. So right out of high school, I went in the Army. Out of the Army, I went to college. A couple of years into college, I started working at a printing company and then stayed in printing for 33 years. Throughout those 33 years, I had three different presidents that, for whatever reason, just put their arms around me and groomed me and kind of mentored me and made me their number two. And I learned a ton from those three gentlemen and really owe a lot to them, to the mentorship to this day. And worked in from a $5 million company to a $1.5 billion company, big corporation. Found out pretty quickly I could not stand corporate America. I like smaller teams and being shoulder to shoulder with people, to running my own company with a partner that we then sold to a fairly large printing firm, Taylor Labor Products. And that's where I spent about half of my career running that company, just here in Menominee Falls. And learned a ton the hard way. Went through 2008 and COVID and what have you, and learned a lot about team, the power of team and the power of focus and simplicity and what have you. And while I was doing that, I was doing some executive coaching on the side, moonlighting, and that's where I met Jeff Hughes and Tony Carls, two founders of this firm. And they asked me to join after a couple of years of doing that. And I came on board and have been here now a little over 3.5 years, and I've just loved the transition.
Jeff Hughes, what did you see in Jeff Kerlin that really made you think I'm gonna take this manufacturing guy and have him lead this law firm?
Yeah, this printer, we tease him that he printed stickers, but they were actually much more sophisticated than that. It was real obvious that Jeff has a way of just connecting with people, building teams. He had been successful everywhere he had been from a standpoint of team building and culture crafting. And while printing is way different than professional services, family law firm, the core skill of being able to lead others was what mattered. So it was all leadership, had nothing to do with the actual competencies of the job, had to do with leadership and leading people. So for Tony and I, it was an easy ask. We got to know Jeff obviously because he coached us, and we got to know him a little more intimately there because we would kind of lay on the couch and tell him all of our woes and he would fix them for us. No, it wasn't like that, but it was similar from a standpoint of just dealing with human issues and how he analyzed human teammate problems.
And I know it's a little different than a lot of family law firms out there, and the fact that we have a non-attorney leader of the firm. We started that with Tony, right? Tony was kind of the firm's first president, as well as head of marketing and co-founder and all the things. So we were a little bit used to that. But do you feel like that played into your willingness to kind of look outside the box into another non-attorney leader?
Yeah, well, I come from a leadership bent anyway. So to me, everything rises and falls in leadership. And so that's where I'm predisposed to look for that first over the actual skills. But as our most of our listeners know, so Tony's not a lawyer. We started the law firm together, like you said. And so we had already had, 8 years of history on with Tony leading a firm. And so we also understood the challenges of a non-lawyer leading lawyers. So that because we had seen that with Tony, so we knew how to kind of maneuver around some of that, but it was all leadership. And so Tony actually moved out of the law firm about a year and a half ago. Is that right, Tyler? And he started to run Rocket Clicks, and then Jeff took over about a year and a half ago. And so we have seen significant improvements and growth since he has taken over the law firm. So Jeff, I think you were when you took over, we were at about 15 million,
Yeah,
uh,
14. Thank you.
14 and a half. And then this year we'll close out the year sniffing 17 and a half, I believe, or in that range.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, closer to 18 even, I think. It depends on how our third quarter goes, which is usually our strongest quarter. So since Jeff has taken over, we've seen nothing but upward and to the right from a revenue perspective, from a profit perspective. And I'll let him speak to the cultural shifts that he's led us through.
Yeah, Jeff Kerlin, I think it's really important for the listeners to understand that you were able to be in the firm for some time with Tony and Jeff Hughes running the firm. You were able to understand kind of the inner workings and get close to some of the personnel. And then when you took over, you were able to really institute kind of your own culture and vision. Would you say that's correct?
Yeah, I think so. One of the things when I took over, the metrics that were already in place, the waterfall things, whatnot, I almost immediately was bragging to my fellow CEO friends running manufacturing companies, like they have better metrics here running this firm than we had in manufacturing, and we thought we were really good at metrics. So the metrics, the foundation was already outstanding. The culture had a little need for improvement. I think a lot of the attorneys here felt like they were almost an afterthought, like we were just this almost corporation, and we just happened to be doing family law, and we could have been plumbers or anything else. And that was something I really kind of doubled down on. Like, no, let's really focus and be proud of family law. And that was never an intent by Jeff or Tony or anything. It just was, I think, it was felt that way. And we really beat that drum hard. Like, let's just be the best family law firm that there is out there and be really proud of that. And we've, I think, have grown since then. But then as far as culture, to me, it's everything. It starts with the leadership team. The culture of the leadership team needs to lead by example. If you get culture right, I think everything else just falls into place. Things like process and even profitability and whatnot just adds to that, but it all falls on culture. And culture is just being really honest with people. In many cases, it's getting some bad apples or people just aren't a fit for the culture you want out of the play, or try and raise them up or get them out. And we did a little bit of that. We did both. We moved some people on, some people opted out, and then some other people just really flourished. Our two managing partners absolutely flourished. And they are just in heaven doing a great job leading our legal team today.
That's awesome. I'm thinking about uh, listeners who are leading teams who are thinking about instituting or revamping their culture. When you went through this exercise, could you take us back a little bit on some of the initial things that you thought about? Okay, Jeff Hughes and Tony Carl started this firm and they have a vision for where they want to take it. And you're kind of shepherding that vision, but you're doing it in your own way through your own culture and your own leadership team. How did you leverage that to rebuild the culture?
Yeah. Well,
Jeff,
first of all,
I think it's, want me to interrupt here for a second. I think it's okay for you to, it'd be great for you to talk about Tony and I really had to get out of your way. So let's just call it what it is. We had been running the firm for 8 years, and it really required us to literally get out of your way, and so you could have the space to lead there. So maybe you can kind of develop that line too, because that's important.
Yeah, well, we were three alpha males, all wanting control of of the steering wheel, and we probably all three had hands on the steering wheel, and that wasn't working. So just any one of us, I think, would have done well. All three of us, it was not going well. So Tony and Jeff graciously stepped out of the way and let me have that, and that was both. I took it with trepidation and excitement. I was like, okay, I've got this now. I better do a good job with it. Um, as far as what I did about it, I'm a one-on-one person. I got really close with key people, just met with them constantly and just really tried to get close to them to find out who is really kind of drunk on the Sterling Kool-Aid. Because from the get-go, I believed in Jeff and Tony's vision for this company. I bought in immediately. We have a vivid vision rather. And like I just read it to someone new that just started today. And I believe it wholeheartedly. And it gets my heart pumping. And I wanted to find out who else believed in that and who didn't. And if they didn't, why didn't they? And what can we do about that? And then who really wants leadership? To me, leadership isn't the person who raises their hand and says, I want to be a manager. And they want to be a manager because they just want to get more money. Leadership are the people that are already leading. They're already helping their cohorts out, even though nobody knows about it. They can't help themselves, but help other people. Those are the people I want to give the ball to more and help them. Leadership are the people that are already leading.
So a
They're
lot of
already
those
helping.
one-on-one meetings, just trying to identify who's on my team.
And then get them together. Who plays nice? And not just, I think pointing out the booger in someone else's nose is nice. A lot of people think, well, that's not nice. No, that actually is nice. And who is able to do that, speak with a critical mindset, but do so and not being a jerk about it. We kind of have a no jerk policy here, but we also have a policy to speak what needs to be spoken. Let's just tell the truth, but let's do it in love. And some people are really good at that, and some people weren't good at that. Either they just never would speak up, or they would do so in a way that was really damaging to the whole culture of the meeting.
Hey, family law firm leaders, my partner Tony Carls just released his book where he lays bare our precise blueprint for growing Sterling lawyers from 0 to 17 million. This is the blueprint that we still use daily. And Tony explains it in very simple terms. The truth is, this is not simple to do. Success requires and demands hard work, but if you have the patience and the work ethic to do it, your family law firm will succeed.
Heather, one thing I want to add here to what Jeff's saying about meeting one-on-one with individuals. So last January, February timeframe, when Jeff Kerlin came in and took over and Tony and I took a kind of a back seat to what was going on, I immediately stepped out of our weekly meetings, and I got to see how the when I would kind of come into meetings, how people had grown and in their leadership over that week or two or a month or so that I had since I had last seen them. So I'd seen a lot of that. And every time I tried to schedule with Jeff, I could see how busy he was with one-on-ones with all of these individuals that he's meeting with. So he did go super deep one-on-one with all of his direct reports. And the key thing, Jeff, that I observed is that you focused all your time and energy on your top leaders and just put your arms around them, figuratively, so to speak, to really raise them up. And in the last year and a half, everyone on our executive team will tell you how much they have grown in the leadership because that one-on-one time that Jeff invested in them.
That's so special.
When leaders get it right, everybody benefits. The whole team benefits. So to me, it's the most important thing to do.
You said something that I thought was really important, which was being able to speak candidly and directly. At Rocket Clicks, we say the thing. And it sounds like, you guys have your own saying for it at Sterling. And I think that, or I believe that that's a muscle that has to be built, right? There has to be high trust and high confidence that if you do say the thing, you're not going to get reprimanded or it's not going to become a rumor mill. Did you experience some of that in helping your team members develop the trust and confidence that they could be real and transparent with you?
Yeah, definitely worked on it. And we had, I'll be candid, We had it, probably certainly one person, possibly two, in fairly senior leadership positions that would say the thing, but they would do it in a very destructive manner. And I had to have a lot of hard conversations with them until they had to be removed. And then other people rose up. We are our head of HR right now is absolutely killing it. She's a strategic advantage for us. Not too many years ago, she was a paralegal here, and she was just not even seen. And then she moved into kind of a generalist role, and we took a gamble on her, and we provided her some outside help. But she has embraced it and grown, and is just killing it. Our two managing partners they were decent. They're amazing attorneys and highly, highly respected, but they probably weren't super strong leaders at the time, and they weren't really good at speaking up. They have grown so much. I'm so proud of them. So, yeah, just being very intentional and having hard conversations, but being nice at the same time.
It's definitely not an overnight fix, right? It really sounds like this takes time and methodically meeting with your most important team members over and over again until they can really start to build that confidence.
Yeah. And I think, what I love to see two, and I see it all the time now, but two leaders getting together, and I have no clue what they're even working on, and they're just getting stuff done, and they have feel like no need to go get permission to be working on. They're just doing it, and they're doing it, and they're having fun working together. And it maybe in some cases it's folks that just really never even talked to each other previously, but now they are.
Collaboration increasing big time. So is I'm thinking about this, and I'm thinking about young leaders or young attorneys or young family law firm owners who maybe have spent their career being the guy or the gal, being in control of everything, having to be in every single meeting. Um, what advice do you have for a leader like that to take kind of that first step on learning to delegate or having instituting some high trust where they can be with their team and allow them to kind of step back the way Jeff Hughes and Tony were able to?
Yeah. I've asked my leaders to all read the book "Buy Back Your Time" by Dan Martell. I mean, if you don't delegate, you're just stifling the growth of everybody, especially yourself, the firm, and your leaders. Giving people things to do and just being okay with it. If they just do it at even 60, 70%, it's better than it not getting done at all. And a lot of people they have such trepidation over that. And some people are perfectionistic, and that's a problem because they get one thing done perfectly, but they get so many other things just never get done. And other people they're insecure about handing things away. Like, I've just always done this. And we really promote, always try to work yourself out of a job. If you can delegate everything away so you have nothing to do and it's getting done, that's awesome, because you're going to take on other things. And if you're even a middle manager, are you going to get let go because you do that? No, you're going to get promoted because you did that. We're going to give you more responsibility because you did that.
Hughes, I'm sure you've seen this across the firm, and you can relate to how it feels to having things taken off your plate.
Oh yeah, yeah. There is some insecurity, and I felt it when Jeff took over. Like, oh, I'm not going to our weekly meetings anymore. How's the firm going to survive? Obviously it thrived with removing me. Yeah. Let me add one more thing to what Jeff was saying there about delegating and letting go. I think that for many of our listeners who are family law firm owners that want to grow their practice beyond where they're at right now, I would encourage everyone that once you get to a certain size, that first leader that is the one reporting into the owner, so to speak, to look first to non-lawyers. I think the law of numbers tells us that there's a lot more business leaders out there that are not lawyers than are lawyers, right? And I think that there is a wealth of talent out there that can run law firms that are not lawyers. And so getting past that mindset of we have to have a lawyer running the firm, I think is a complete fallacy. Now, for that to work, that leader has to let go, that lawyer has to let go and let that non-lawyer lead. Now, they can't, obviously, the non-lawyer cannot get involved in making legal decisions, right? You can't do that. Leave that to the lawyers. We do that in our practice. We leave that to our managing partners. But outside of that, Jeff makes 100% of the decisions, or he approves 100% of the decisions that go into the firm that are business oriented, which are the majority of them, right? So Jeff's not making decisions that relate to how we serve clients. He's letting the lawyers do that. So you have to be able to do that. If you can't do that, if you know that about yourself, you can't do that, then either fix that or just be happy with your size, with the size you are, because you're not going to grow beyond that until you're able to do it.
Yeah, and I just a quick call out here to one of our clients, James Hansen at Genesis Legal in Arizona is another non-attorney law firm leader who's a good friend of ours, good friend of the show, and is doing the same thing. So we promise it's not just a Sterling thing happening out in the environment.
It's happening a lot too in the fractional capacity for like financial fractional, marketing fractional. I think it should happen more in the president role rather than just individual departments.
That's great. Jeff, really appreciate your time, your insights today. Loving the culture that you've built at Sterling and excited to continue to watch us grow.
Thanks. I appreciate being here.